Here we are, week 2, week in review.
No, this is only week 1 that we've been
Well,
here.
we've got a video out of week 1.
Oh, okay, I see. Yes, week 2.
So this is week 2.
Although you and I also kind of fundamentally disagree on whether or not this was a week. Because today's Monday.
Yeah.
But we drove in last
yeah.
Monday.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday we unloaded and shopped it at the grocery store. And then Wednesday we had to shop for clothes for the party.
Well, in the midst of our restoration,
Yeah.
we have to stop and go to the store
Why?
to buy fancier clothes, since we brought none, of course, because we've been invited to a fancy party. So we have, of course, didn't bring anything with us, so we've got to go buy some shoes and some pants, but that's okay. We love it.
And then Thursday we had to go to the party.
That's true. All right, Laine, go over there for a size comparison to show how tall the bed is.
I'm 5'7" and I'm wearing...
So these ceilings are probably 15 feet maybe, and that's got to be a 10-foot, 11-foot bed.
So that should be about 6 feet, right? My reach?
I don't know how you, no, you've reached more than that. You reach about 7'5",
Okay,
maybe.
So that's 13?
10, no, I think it's a 10-foot bed.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's so beautiful. This house has been in the same family.
Look at this.
For
Is this a
200
little
years.
baby's bed?
Yes.
Oh my, not a little baby, but I think I could fit in that.
Look at the pelmets over the window, and all the windows have these
Here, hold this.
beautiful pelmets.
Wow, wow, wow. More to come. What do you like better, the antiques in this house or the
Or the
house
architecture?
itself? I mean,
Yes,
the
the
architecture,
answer is yes.
I mean, look at
Hang on, I have
this.
to go look at myself in this mirror that's probably 200 years old.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
You might see your soul.
I hope so.
The center part was
center part-
built in 1790.
About 1790, we think. And then, oh, look at the ashlar block on the top of that
Oh yeah?
front part.
I'll have to get over here and get a close up.
And then the back half and the front half were built at the same time,
that
which
crazy?
is interesting because the back half
Such-
appears very federal and the front half is Greek Revival. So I'm very perplexed, but they were in fact built at the same time.
And I told Laine, husband liked federal
Yes,
and the wife liked
exactly.
Greek Revival. And so they just built their own little additions.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So I say all together, this is like 3 full days worth of work
Okay.
in review.
3 full days work in review.
And I'm proud of 3 full days worth of work.
Yeah, we've accomplished a lot. We didn't get the parlor done, but I'm hoping that next video we'll have a completely done parlor for you to see. But we also wandered out of the parlor.
We did.
A few
I
times.
get distracted very easily.
Well, that's okay. You want to kind of, it's all got to be done eventually.
It
So
does.
sometimes if you're like, I'm excited about doing this, it's okay to do. One of the things we got excited about was going to the salvage yard and finding a new front door.
So the front door that's on this house, this lovely house, we think was probably put on in the 40s or 50s, trying to give it a bit of a colonial vibe. The other 2 doors on the house are these gorgeous Victorian glass top doors.
Which is what the front door would have been.
And we went to 601 Salvage.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Laine.
Where are we going?
We're going to salvage.
What are we looking for?
Treasure. We're looking for a front door for sure.
What else?
bathtub, I guess. I don't know. We need a little hinge for our shutter.
And
I know that.
who knows what else we might find.
Who knows?
How tall are you, Kevin?
6'3".
So I want to see the building those came off of.
I know.
And I want to see him get them down.
I want to put them up, I'll tell you that.
What'd we find, Kevin?
Well, we found one that matches pretty well. Looks like our mantle, doesn't it?
Yeah. Look at that. I love the doorknob.
Good size.
Little egg and dart molding. Original blown glass. Where's that bubble? Try to show them that bubble.
Yeah, it's hard to show.
Can't find it
glass
now.
on the camera.
Oh, there it is. See if we can. Nope. Not gonna show up. Just trust me. It's blown glass. Beautiful.
A little weird tear down the bottom.
Nothing a little epoxy won't fix.
Met the salvage man there, Mac.
Met Mac Heslop.
Mac Heslop.
We said, Mac, we need a front door.
We need a front door, and he had the perfect one.
He did.
In fact, it's got that scroll work that looks a lot like the mantle pieces, right?
Yes. Thrilled about that.
And even delivered it for us.
He did, which
So
is
that was awesome.
phenomenal. And it has its original wavy glass. So we got the door, and then I got its first coat of smart strip on it. I think it's gonna take me a long time. I was like, let's hang the door, and then thought, no, we need to strip it and paint it first, and that's gonna take an
But you think
eternity.
you're gonna go bare wood on it too, right?
I do. Here in Natchez, everybody's front doors tend to be stained, so we're gonna stain the front door.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Curiosity Stream, which is literally my favorite streaming service.
You guys are gonna be so happy when we tell you this.
So, Curiosity Stream, you know how you're always turning on your TV and there's nothing to watch, even if you have all the services
We've
in
got
the
all
world?
of the
We have
services,
all the
and there's
services.
still nothing to watch.
Curiosity Stream, there is always something to watch. It has literally thousands of documentaries by some of the world's best documentary makers, as well as exclusive content that you could only get on Curiosity Stream. And I know you probably think I'm lying, but literally you can ask him my favorite thing to watch.
Documentaries. Absolutely. Curiosity Stream is the Netflix for the knowledgeable. It's the Hulu for history buffs. It's the Disney Plus for the scientist in us all.
And you know what else I love about it?
What?
So one of the reasons that I refused to get it for so long was I was like, we cannot afford another streaming service.
I
We
know.
got rid of
Seriously.
cable,
I know you're all out there going, I mean, how many more can you have?
right? I don't want to spend $15 more a month on another service. $15 a month adds up. Guess what? It's $20 a year. You spend more than that on the coffee that you buy every morning before you go to work.
$20 a year. Can you believe that?
No, I couldn't believe that.
And even better news, if
I
they
like
use code restoration, that's all of us.
Code restoration.
Use restoration at checkout, and you will only pay $14.99 for an entire year's subscription.
That's a 25% discount for those of you who are bad at math.
That's $1.25 per month. That's nothing.
That's less than nothing.
Come on. What's your favorite show on there?
It's the world's greatest houses.
I love the history of home. And it's a 3-part series, actually. Each one is an hour long, and it's narrated by
Kevin's good friend,
Nick Offerman.
Parks and Recreation.
From Parks and Rec.
He thinks they're very good
Oh, we're
buddies.
close.
Or
We're tight.
tight friends.
If you guys want to save 25% right now, go to curiositystream.com/restoration. Make sure you use restoration at your checkout, and you will save 25% and only spend $14.99 for an entire year.
That's
This is not a month.
$1.25
This is a year.
a month. Can I just say it again?
That's
$1.25
Very
a month.
cheap. It's nothing.
For you who are spending $7.50 every morning for coffee. Okay? Learning for $1.25 a month.
You are welcome. Curiosity Stream, new in your life.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna thank us for it.
Goodbye. We're gonna have to go a lot faster now. We're never gonna get through it, right? Some of the other things we wondered out and did. You got some more paint off of some of the transoms.
Yes. It's dark in the house because they painted all the transoms. So I wanted to get the paint off the transoms. So we got that. So we have a lot more natural light in the house.
So that'll help us.
The transom hardware, it's the little things to me that make a room look finished. The little things. And every transom rod in this house has been painted with multiple coats of paint. So we took those down.
Flathead screws.
Yes. Kevin's favorite.
Yes. I love painting the hardware. That's got it.
That's all.
No, that's the song of whoever painted this.
Oh, okay.
To make my life a living hell. This is Kevin in hell. Here's your flathead screwdriver. Welcome to hell. Flathead screws are the bane of my existence.
Okay, can we all please mutually agree to stop painting hardware? I know that when you're in the midst of a project, it makes it more time consuming to go ahead and take that hardware down and deal with it, but it makes it so much harder on those of us later who have to take the paint off the hardware. So let me show you what I've been doing. They were painted completely over. So last night, I got my Smart Strip out. I wrapped them completely in saran wrap, and inside that saran wrap, I put a thick coat of Smart Strip. So when I took off the saran wrap today, most of the paint came with it, but not all of it, and especially not in these little nooks and crannies. So now I'm having to scrub off all the nook and cranny paint. Yay! So here in a little bit, I'll show you what this is gonna look like once we have it all clean and reinstalled. And so you know what yours can look like if you ever feel the compulsion to take yours down and strip them, make them beautiful again. Got that
we got
strip.
those down.
Got it back up again.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Doesn't that look good?
Yeah, you're right. That makes it look really finished.
Yeah, we put the transom rod back up, and we're kind of like, now it looks like a finished room, except
We should
for
have just done
the
that.
paper is not up yet, and all the walls are insane.
Yeah, and the floors are going to be a mess. But then you also got to working on the dining room mantle.
I did. That wasn't the exciting mantle, though. The exciting mantle was the living room mantle that had all of the missing. Look at him looking so confused, like he has no idea what I did.
I mean, we just did that, and it was pretty dang exciting finding that wood.
We
wood is
just
beautiful.
did that. I'm in the dining room with this beautiful mantle, and this is the one that we've decided we're going to try to strip down to bare wood and refinish it because it's not missing any pieces. It doesn't appear to have any chunks out of it. So what I've done, a lot of people complain about the Smart Strip, which is the only stripping product I recommend. Because it's totally non-caustic. I can literally stick my hand in the bucket, leave it in there, pull it out, leave the Smart Strip on my hand. It does not burn at all. And you know how so many strippers, you get even a speck on you and it burns you to the bone. Smart Strip doesn't do that. But I get a lot of complaints from people about Smart Strip saying it just doesn't do its job. It doesn't work right. You've got to use it properly. So the first thing with Smart Strip is you have to put on a nice thick coat, about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch. You want a thick coat, a a solid coat over the top. Then you want to wrap it in saran wrap. The thing that keeps Smart Strip active and working is being completely cut off from air. Then you don't want to get too impatient. Smart Strip will take up to like 8 layers of paint off, and it encapsulates lead paint. So once you start removing your paint, it's a completely safe product to work with. But a lot of people want to put their stripper on and they want to leave it there like 12 hours and come pull it off, and then they're mad when the stripper didn't take the paint all the way down to the finish. Well, this stripper I put up 48 hours ago. And now we're going to pull off the saran wrap and we're going to see what happens. You ready?
Ready.
Look at that. We're getting all the way down to wood. Yay! I'll be able to come in here and just get that right off.
Get the filthy muck off of it. It's going to be beautiful. It's hard to see how pretty on the camera though.
Oh, I can see how pretty it's going to be. And I bet our viewers can see how pretty it's going to be too. But look, it's gone right down to the stain. So we'll take a little bit of water and wash that off. That's another thing that's great about Smart Strip is it's pH neutral. So you don't have to worry about coming in later and using another product to get your pH correct back on your wood like you do with a lot of other strippers. You have to come in with like a citrus spray to get your pH back in the right spot. You don't have to do that with Smart Strip. Again, see how non-caustic this is? I'm literally using my finger and it's not, I can't even, it's just wet. Getting right down to, and this is in the most detailed part of this mantle piece. That's why I wanted to show you that, because we're getting right down to that egg and dart and ionic roll. And these beautiful ionic columns here at the top. So, I mean, I will clean this off. I'll give it a little scrub with some superfine, look at that, just superfine steel wool and a little bit of mineral spirits. And we will have our showpiece of a mantle back in this room. I'm so excited. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to do it or not. So seeing that it's going to be possible is thrilling. I really wanted to see if the dining room mantle was going to be able to be stripped back to hardwood.
Midway through the process.
Yeah, so I'm using a plastic scraper so it doesn't damage the wood, but I can really
Press
get in
into
there. And yes, it's a mess. But man,
But look at this.
Is it worth it? Oh,
Look at that.
well, even more than that, because that's composite. Look at this. This is where the real beauty is. This wood.
Any idea what species of wood that is?
It looks like oak. Back to its original wood finish, and not
Man.
only can we,
Ooh, it looks good.
but we discovered it's tiger oak. Tiger oak
So
mantle
pretty.
that they painted over at some
Right.
point. It's gonna be a booger to get all that paint off, but it'll be worth it.
Like, this feels like the most exciting thing we've done all week,
I know, right?
doesn't it? Look at that.
So now I'm just going over it with some acetone, which is just paint thinner, and super fine steel wool. And we've discovered that we have a tiger oak mantle piece. No big deal, NBD, just a tiger oak mantle.
Yeah. Now imagine painting that.
And painting it like multiple times. Multiple
Well,
times.
the first time is the greatest sin, right?
Right. And I know this looks like a mess and it looks so hard.
I think
But
it looks
look,
beautiful. Look
I'm
at
gonna
that.
tell you that I would, oh well, yeah, the wood's gorgeous, but I would rather do this all day, any day, than have to repaint. Sand, caulk, and repaint. This is way less work
Yeah.
than doing the other one that we're repainting.
Well, when you put the Smart Strip on, it does a lot of the work for you. Just
Sure does.
put it on and let it sit.
Yep. I mean, it's sticky and it's gooky. Feels gross, but so worth it.
Yes. After this video, comment 1 out of 10. How excited are you to see this mantle completely stripped of its paint in its beautiful original form.
We'll try to have it completely done for you by next video. Try. I've got wallpaper to hang.
I'm expecting comments, people.
So, if you lose a screw cover on your historic fireplace, you just fill it in with wood putty. So in the future, if someone wants to take it down and restore it, it's nearly impossible.
You can do it. If anybody can do it, Laine, you and Ollie.
Gotta have help from the main man.
Teamwork. Get in there, Ollie. Get in there.
You helping, Mama?
Mama, it's just my height. I need to get tanky after it, don't we, bud?
If only you had some thumbs, buddy.
Don't need no thumbs. What is it? Oh my gosh.
Some other people find really fantastic things behind their mantle.
I said a little army man hand. Oh, creepy.
And look, there's another one.
Oh no, somewhere there's an army man.
Yay, we got your mantle down! We got your mantle down! Yay!
Is there a pecan? Did I see a pecan?
Oh, probably.
No, what is that right there?
Where, that?
Yeah.
That looks
No.
like a tooth. I don't know what it is. There's a little bit of something shiny, like a glazed white.
Huh.
Some glazed white in there.
That's your finished coat of the plastic.
Maybe. I don't know. Oh, and nice. I have these tiny arms.
Those are funny.
Yay!
That's a funny find. I love it.
But I spent 2 days
Yes, you worked hard and came up with some really creative solutions
sculpting.
to create the new pieces we were missing.
Yes. It is hot today in Natchez, Mississippi, and I am sweating. But I am sweating because I am outside on the side porch about to start the rejuvenation of our gorgeous 1909 mantle for the living room. Now, I would love to say restoration, meaning I could take it all the way back down to its gorgeous birch wood, stain it, finish it, and have a gorgeous stained mantle in that front room. But unfortunately, it has sustained a lot of very unusual damage over its lifetime and some really questionable repairs. So I'm gonna do my dead level best to get it back to a state where at least the damage won't be as noticeable as it is right now, get it repainted, glued back together, it's falling apart, and put it back in the living room to be enjoyed for another 100 years. This mantle has some really odd repair work that's been done to it. I wanna know how the damage happened in the first place. My suspicion is that it has a lot to do with the fact that 2 teenage boys were raised in this house and things happened and were repaired, hoping that mom and dad wouldn't notice that they'd been done, but we'll probably never know. Luckily, both of the gorgeous ionic columns that sit at the top of this mantle have one side that is still in great shape, and they're mirror images of each other. So on one column, the left side is destroyed, the right side is intact. On the other column, the right side is destroyed, the left side is intact. So let me walk you through how I'm going to fix these things. The first thing I did was took my Victorian wood epoxy and made impression molds of the existing complete sides of these columns. These are busted up. This one's complete. So I have made a little ball of wood epoxy.
It's beautiful.
Isn't it? I'm gonna press it in there. Pull it out.
Oh.
Made a nice little impression.
Uh-huh.
And my hope is that this will dry and then I can use it
To make a
to
mold?
make a mold.
Out of what?
Wood epoxy. Same thing.
All right. That'll get hard, and then you take the soft wood epoxy and press it into that.
Yeah. And it should make a replacement piece. Actually, for this one.
Yeah, I mean, that
Bust it
one's
up.
sort of there. That one's really gone.
Yeah.
That is crazy tunes.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I don't know, I can't even fathom what happened there, but that's the plan. So, and then we've got one down here we're gonna do. Usually I do a silicone or a soft dry clay, but I have neither one of those things right now, so we're gonna experiment with wood epoxy and see how it goes.
Let's see what happens. Stay tuned.
Next time on Wood Epoxy Adventures with Laine. I've let that harden, and then I'm gonna take more of my Abitron wood epoxy and press it into those molds to create reverse replacement sides. Now you'll notice I'm spraying this with a little bit of WD-40. That keeps the wood epoxy from sticking to the wood epoxy, so it will release nicely. Then I can lay these out, trim the edges away, and prep the surface to receive their new applique. I am gonna have to let these appliques dry before I put them on because we're gonna wanna secure them with wood glue. So we'll give those a little while to dry before we put them on. Now the fun part, paint removal and removal of the earlier repair. I do need to get all of the paint off of this part. So I am using a heat gun. I'm outside in a well-ventilated area, so I'm not that worried about it. Going to use this heat gun and my dental tools to get all the paint off of this area so that then it's nice and ready to receive its new applique. Once the appliques are dry, I can adhere them with some wood glue, caulk around the edges, and we'll paint, and it'll look just like new. Well, not as good as new, but as close as we can get. So the beautiful living room mantle is now complete again, and it has its first coat of paint, starting to look like it's all in one piece again.
Still on the side porch right now.
It's gonna stay there until it's got both coats of paint. We work with oil paint. It's good for the wood. It encapsulates any lead that may be left over. But it does tend to be rather viscous. It kind of like wants to ooze down after you put it up. So I've laid the mantle flat so I can get a good coat of paint on it, and it'll dry flat and I won't have to worry about it.
And then we'll try not to scuff it to death moving it back in there.
Oh,
it's kind of heavy.
Better not.
And what else did we do? A lot of plaster work.
Kevin did a ton of plaster work.
Gonna walk you through. Oh, you can see my beard growing in. I got my construction beard going. What do you think, Laine?
I hate it.
She loves it. So that'll probably be gone by tomorrow. I know it will because we got to go to a fancy party tonight, don't we? We're gonna get back to the plaster repair. Last time, if you remember, we drilled our holes. Well, we fixed our little surface cracks. We drilled our holes where we were having release. The keys had broken, delamination. Thanks, Laine. And we actually injected our glue back there, and now we have a nice stick. I got no bounce there at all, so that's what I wanted to achieve. Now we've got these larger holes that we're going to have to address. There's even a larger one on this side. So what we're going to do is, it's actually a 3-plaster process. 3-step process using 3 different types of plaster. You've got your scratch coat, which we put on here, and push back into the lab. The lab are these little skinny pieces of wood. You push it back into, and it creates the key, which basically means it grips onto the lab and holds on, and that's how all of this plaster stays up. Then the next coat is your base coat. Put it on top of the scratch coat, and then your finish coat, which we smooth out really nice, and we have a really nice looking piece of plaster. So here we go. Let's get started on step 1. Now the first thing I'm going to do, now I've already gone through and basically gotten out most of the loose plaster. Can you see that this is actually the horsehair right here? You can see some horsehair from the plaster. I don't know if you can see that. But the first thing I'm going to do before I apply this scratch coat is I'm going to push out the plaster that's left between the lathe. You see that? I'm going to push that out so that when I push this plaster in, we can create a new key that will hold the plaster to it. All right, see that? Once I've got that done, now it's time to put in the plaster. All right, so you want to get the plaster to a pretty pasty, you can see that's about a peanut butter consistency. And I'm just using this little cheap putty knife to put it in because a trowel will be way too big for these little cracks. So let me try and get this to stick. And as you squeeze it in, it will create new keys as it goes between the lathe. Hopefully, you're sitting at home thinking, this idiot can do it, I can do it. At least I hope. And it's not super important that this is really, really flat, because that's the good thing about plaster. You're able to go in and smooth it all out no matter what's underneath it. You don't have that luxury with sheetrock. Just give myself a little bit of room for the base coat. But we're well on our way.
Where we filled in the doorway, we're having to plaster that entire wall.
And then some pretty gaping holes that were caused by a little bit of water intrusion over the years.
Well, and then at some point somebody did a porch repair, and the porch repair was
Right.
done beautifully, except they busted through the lathe.
Yeah, that's where that big hole came from.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And then we had to kind of repair the lathe because the lathe was pushed out.
Yep.
All right, it's time for our base coat. We have our scratch coat in. It is dried and filled in most of our gap. So we're going with our base coat, and it is much thinner. It's a pre-mixed product from Master of Plaster, and it is much thinner, as you can probably see. I don't know if you can see that. And I'm using my large trowel on this one because we are going to cover the entire space instead of just fill in the crack. So you just want to put it over your scratch coat. And it's going to go in, like I said, it's going to go in thin. This doesn't have to be super clean and super flat because your finish coat can make up for some mistakes, but it's better to go ahead and get it as flat as you possibly can, because then you have less work to make up. So we're going to let that dry for a couple of days, and then we're going to go with our finish coat. Well, we've finally made it to our last phase of plaster repair. On these larger holes, we had to go in with our scratch coat, and then we came in with our base coat to smooth that out, and now we're finally on to our finish coat. It's a way thinner product, a little thicker than paint, really. But you just want to lightly coat this all over the area. So you get a very smooth finish. smoothing at this phase. As you put it on, you want to feather it out to the outside. Just like that. You can do it too.
We got all of the trim painted, scraped, sanded, caulked. Ideally, in all of these properties, Victorian homes, we would strip all the paint off of the woodwork and take it back to natural wood and shellac it, because most of the time that's the treatment that was used. Not universally, but much of the time. Sometimes, however, that's just not possible for a couple of reasons. The first reason in Pearl is time. We don't have the time that it would take to invest to do that process. But there are a couple other really important reasons why we can't, even if we had the time. First of all, we have baseboards that have been coated in several layers of lead paint. So to strip that back all the way down and to refinish that wood would require lead abatement. That's very expensive, it's very time consuming, and it's very, it's not environmentally fabulous to do that. The second reason, and really the more important reason to us, is that there are big chunks of wood out of all of these window frames that are missing. There were huge elements off the fireplace that were missing that are having to be replicated with wood epoxy. And no matter what you do, once you start replacing missing chunks of wood with wood epoxy, they never stain the same color as the actual wood. So in here we have fresh, beautiful oil-based paint that will condition the wood, and it will stay gorgeous for years to come. It won't flake and peel and bubble and chip like that latex garbage does.
What you doing, Kevin? What are you doing?
I'm working on this house, Laine.
Gosh!
Gosh!
You're working hard?
I'm working hard.
What project are you working on?
Snuggles. Snuggles, very important part.
Daddy's supposed to be sanding the baseboards,
I
Oliver.
know, I'm helping. See?
Oh, yes.
The pretty side of home restoration.
This is my least favorite part. It has to be done. I have to clean other people's dirt off, but it feels like I'm doing nothing, and I hate it. So there you go.
Gotta clean it before you paint it.
And then you gotta caulk it, and then you gotta sand it before you feel like you're actually doing anything to it.
It's gonna look good though.
If you say so.
This is my stripping paint arm. You like it?
Yeah.
This is why we like to bring dogs,
Yeah, they're very helpful.
because they're such good help.
They know how to stay out of the way and how to be helpful when you're trying to caulk the woodwork right here on the floor. Yeah.
So you got on the floor to play with me.
Yeah. Play with me, Mama.
Tanky, what about you? Yep, I'll play. Let's play. For our stupid mental health.
Yes, our stupid mental health. That's why we bring poopers. How much of a difference did that make?
Huge. I walked in and you had the baseboard painted and it looked like a different room.
It looks like a different space.
Yeah, you know, it's still, the walls are still like mismatched plaster everywhere.
It's an abstract art project right now.
Right, so we've still got wallpaper to do in there. Did we do anything else that I haven't covered?
We got the big thing we did. Complete window restoration,
Window restoration.
Window restoration for all 4 windows in the living room, the bay, and then the one on the west side of the house.
One of the more difficult areas in taking out a window and repairing a window is getting this parting bead out, because it's kind of tucked away in here. You see this little slot? It fits right in there like that. So I did actually manage to get all but one out without breaking it, which was kind of an accomplishment. But you get so much paint buildup on these that it's better to just go ahead and replace them, cut them down, put them in, the slot and you'll have a nice smooth finish.
Right here you can see we have, this is a long, wide gap, and that's just from years of being in existence. This piece of wood is missing, and we had several of these in this space. A lot of people fill these with caulk. That's the wrong thing to do. So we're using our 2-part Abitron wood epoxy, and I am just going to fill in. This will actually bond, even though we've already painted the wood, there's raw wood underneath. I'm gonna squish it in there really tight. Get quite a bit down in that hole. That's something else you can't do with caulk, because you can't use it to fill a void. And you can with this wood epoxy, because once this wood epoxy hardens, it has basically the same consistency as the wood. And I love it because just the heat of your body will help you blend it. See, I'm already losing some. It's squeezing back into that hole, so we'll just put some more in there. Now we're gonna give this about 24 hours to dry. I'll come back in, I'll sand it and paint it, and you will never know that there was a big gaping hole in this beautiful Victorian trim. Yeah, Tanky. Where are you, Kevin?
I'm in the kitchen, you know, my little work kitchen.
Are you in your workshop?
Yes, in the workshop.
Your work kitchen?
Thank you. I told you not to come in. It's about to get loud in here, buddy.
Daddy, I am manly.
Huh? You want to run this off?
I can run this off.
I bet you can, buddy.
T-Rooney. Let's talk a little bit about restoring your antique windows and the frustration that can happen when you work with antique glass. One of the things that I hear people say causes them the most anxiety and frustration when they're working with their antique windows is working with the glass. And they feel like if they lose a single pane of glass, they fail, and they feel like they have to throw their hands up and call in a professional and start all over from the beginning with just a professional, which is going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. Well, let me go ahead and assure you, let me put your mind at ease, everybody, even professionals, break antique glass, okay? And there's a reason for that. Antique glass is obviously not tempered. And the structure, the molecular structure of glass is such that with these old pieces of glass that have been through multiple restorations and they've had a lot of work done to them through the years, they were cut using slightly more primitive cutting methods than we use today. The likelihood that you're gonna break a pane or even two of your antique glass is high. But the good news is it's replaceable. So let's talk about why your antique glass breaks so easily. First of all, it's incredibly thin compared to our modern glass. Most modern window glass is about 1/4 of an inch thick. It's also typically tempered glass, so it's not gonna shatter on you. But glass, like water, has surface tension. So as long as the surface of your glass is unscarred, meaning it doesn't have any scratches or chips, it's structurally quite sound and unlikely to break. However, come here, let me show you something. So with this beautiful piece of antique glass that I managed to get out of the window without breaking it, I managed to get it all the way to Natchez, Mississippi without breaking it. I picked it up to install it in my window and it snapped. So why did it snap? It's pretty simple. You'll come see this side of the glass is without fault. There's no chip in this edge. It's still a straight, beautiful edge, no flaw. This side of the glass though, right here, you can see there was a tiny, itty bitty little chip right there. Probably as a result of an earlier restoration that had been done. Somebody probably dug in to put their glazing point in, or they dug out to get some old glaze out and cause just the tiniest edge chip. It's so easy to do on this old glass, and that broke your surface tension. Once the surface tension is broken, the structural integrity of the glass is compromised, and you have to be so cautious when handling it that it doesn't break. That's why when you see even modern glass cutters go to cut a piece of glass, all they do is take a small little tool like this, has a little diamond wheel edge, they run it down the glass, and they can literally snap it in half because they've broken that surface tension. So all this to say, when you're restoring your historic windows, you're probably gonna lose a piece of historic glass, or 2, or even 3. Don't get distraught about it. Save it for later, tape around the edges, put it in your asset pile. You may need this piece of antique glass to cut a smaller pane in a window later, and go get yourself a new piece of glass and put it back in your historic window. Or better yet, try to find you someone who stocks old glass. Hard to find, but if you're lucky enough to be working in a beautiful city like Natchez, Mississippi that's surrounded by historic homes, often your glass cutters are going to have a stash of that antique glass hiding in the back room. So always ask to see if they have any wavy glass for you to replace the wavy glass that you accidentally broke in your windows.
All right, Laine, what's it look like?
It looks red. I love it. It's going to be fantastic. We just have a whole bunch more to do. And yes, we have to paint the glaze, but you don't paint the glaze until about 7 to 10 days after.
Let them know, Laine.
So the glaze
Preach, Laine.
the glaze has to cure. So if you paint it right away, it's gonna be bad. It has to cure. It never gets completely hard. Well, it does after many years. But we'll come back in and we'll paint the glaze, and we paint just a millimeter outside the glaze onto the glass, which creates a beautiful seal between the glaze and the glass. And got all those back in, got them painted. We've still got to do the final little edging coat of paint once the glaze cures, but that
was big, and we were like dodging thunderstorms.
Yes.
It's been raining every day.
Yes, trying to get windows in around
Right.
lightning. That was an adventure.
But those
huge.
look great. You did a great job.
Thank you. Bay window is restored. I mean, if you don't mind the shutters that are hanging crooked. Hey, Mr. Barry.
Howdy, neighbor.
Complete window restoration and reinstallation. Check.
Check.
Complete
Plaster repair.
plaster
almost.
repair. I mean,
And
you've got
there's-
one area that needs a little finish
I have
coat.
2 areas that still need finish coat.
But I think that we can check that off because finish coat is like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Check. So plaster, check. Complete trim, sand, caulk, repair, paint, check. Transom, check. Mantle in the living room, basically rebuild because it was also falling apart. So we rebuilt it, glued it all back together again, recreated the pieces for it. Done.
Just have
Painted.
to put it back up.
Gotta put it back. There's gotta be more.
I don't know. I thought that was
that
a
it?
lot. That sounds like a lot.
It was a lot. It was a lot to do. I inhaled a lot of fumes this week, so there's that.
So there you go. That's week 2. Week in review.
I think that's-
week 3.5 days.
But I think that's week 3.5 days.
Okay. All right. So really, I mean, we're looking at 10 days,
To fully
12, really 2 full weeks, and we'll have that room completely done.
Yeah.
Including all the windows, all the plaster.
including full
That's a
window
lot of work
restoration.
in 2 weeks.
I don't think we can overemphasize what a huge job window
All
restoration
right. I mean, you had to
is.
take those completely apart.
Yeah, we stripped them all the way down to bare wood, sanded them, primed them, painted them,
Glued them back together.
glued them back. Oh my gosh, glued them all back together because they were falling apart. Reglazed them. I mean, it has been. That was a that was a huge project. But now
Yes.
they're good for another 100 years.
But like you did do most of that, or a lot of that, in Conway too.
I did a lot of that in Conway. I did, yeah. No,
So-
make them think I did it all in 3 days. I'm Wonder Woman, I can
You
do it
can
in 3
too.
days.
Why can't you do it? So that's our week in review. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to comment how excited you are to see that mantle, because I want to see your excitement.
And Ollie, come here. Come here.
Ollie, jump
Can you
up.
come up here?
No, I can't do it.
Oh, I
You can
bet
see him while he goes behind us.
Come here, buddy. Come here. Everybody see Ollie. Come here, Ollie. Come on.
Ollie, come on.
Come on.
Come on.
There's
There
a
he
good
is.
as boy.
Come here.
There's a good as
There
boy.
he is. There it is.
Yes.
A
Mwah.
small part of the family. So there it is, your weekend review, the longest goodbye ever from Kevin, Ollie, Tanky, and Laine. We'll see you guys next week.